Hey guys, good evening. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. As we speak, we are streaming live on YouTube as well as Instagram. My name is Dali Modebe, and you're welcome to our 21-day positivity challenge. This version takes place live on Instagram. Tonight is such a wonderful and interesting live because this is the first time we are simultaneously streaming on YouTube as well as streaming on Instagram. So if you're glad to be here, let's see, put up some fire emojis in the section. If you're glad to be here, let's see you make some noise. I'd love you to share this live. Let's get more people to join in and all. Tonight, the topic is going to be, I'm going to give the topic in a little while. And I should also be having an amazing guest join me tonight as well. She's a change catalyst. um I'm hoping she can come in and join us tonight. Yeah, she just joined in. Awesome. So in the person of Coach Oroluwa Affair, founder of Change Catalyst, she's a change consultant. She is live as well. She's streaming on YouTube as well as Instagram, and I'm streaming on YouTube as well as Instagram. And then tonight we are here live. Finally, we made it. Okay. Okay. So let's wait for a few more people to join in. But while they're joining in, I would like to, I'd like you to briefly introduce yourself before we go into the topic.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Ore. Dalila is change catalyst.
That is who you are.
Yes, that's the name of my business. That's the name of my consulting outfits. But really, what I am is a consultant for I help C-level build executives to design structural changes across the organization that has to do with technology, that has to do with cultural shifts, for as a personal brand for themselves and also as organization. That's a little bit about me.
Wow.
And I'm happy to be here with you guys.
That is a very cumbersome curriculum vitae, and hopefully in the course of this live you should be able to draw from the well of your knowledge. So tonight we are so this is day 9 of our wellness and positivity challenge, and on the topic is centered on soul reset live, and what nobody tells you about burnout. Okay, so before we go into the topic, my name is Coach Ndali Modebe. As I say, a friend of mine I was speaking with, let's say a friend or mentor, Sha. Like, well, he's like, so he's my yeah, he's a mentor, but he's also a friend. So he doubles as a mentor and a friend. So, and he was telling me that I've so branded myself as a coach on all social media platforms that in fact he was now calling me Coach Ndali just a few days ago. So it is important that we understand our identity. For Coach Ore, she is the change catalyst, even if she doesn't want to call herself the change catalyst. But if she comes into your organization, there's going to be remarkable, change when she handles your different projects, right? So for me, I'm a branding expert. My core is in broadcasting, and I do so many things, including um, I'm the founder of Project Team, which is an organization within our Lubis Loveness Foundation. We have a program way down the year, which is in October. This initiative, in partnership with Emeritus Professor Ifeoma Okoye, which is 21 Day Wellness and Positivity Challenge, Business Boost Bootcamp, Hazel Oils, Day Media, as well as many other ventures. Hello, Bryce. You are going to live long. I just thought about it this evening. How are you doing? Welcome. So, but tonight we're going to focus on soul food. We are zeroing in on soul food and why. Hello, Chisco, you're welcome. And why is it that back in the 90s, or I'm asking, why is it that back in the 90s, soul food was a thing? And I'm not just talking about soul food in the sense of food, I'm talking about soulful music, interactions, community, hangouts, and, like people actually showing up and coming out to do things, in as a community. I'm not talking about just Owambe. I'm talking about games, family games. I'm talking about picnics. I'm talking about different things. And then there'll be music, there are fundraisers, all those things that we had then back in the 90s, right? Um, they no longer exist. And with removing those things, it now makes room for people to work in silos. We were just talking about this before the live, working in silos, working on doing things by themselves. And at that point, they feel isolated, they feel they are in this alone, and they get burnt out. That is when the enemy starts playing tricks on them and letting them know that they are alone in the world, and depression, anxiety, and the extreme comes in. So that is what we're going to talk about today. So if at this point, if you're listening to us and you're not following either one of us, please make sure you're following. If you're listening on YouTube and you've not subscribed to our account, please make sure you do that, okay? Because you don't want to miss this live. The topic is soul reset. We are going to soul food, we're going to reset, we're going to do some resetting, and then we're going to talk about what nobody tells you about burnout. So I'm going to open up the floor, and then I'm going to ask you, to you, let's start from the first word, soul food. What is soul food to you? What does soul food mean to you?
So the thing about like piggyback to piggyback on what you asked before, you know that this soul food thing comes as a concept. It started with African Americans. It was a way of coming together to say that, okay, we've done the civil rights movement, we've done Black Power movement, we've done all these things. Now, can we do something that allows us to, not to fight, to come together based on things we all enjoy and that is peculiar to us as a people? That is us, that belongs to us as a people, meaning African Americans, people that came from the African continent and have found themselves here through not of their own volition. So it started as that, and so soul food is really just of. It's not because it's not based on what people like. It's not based on trend. It's not based on any external thing. Is based on what goes on inside you. It's an offshoot of the Harlem culture. Harlem season was the time in African American history, in the US, when people were, they started to discover things, new things about entertainment. Black Americans started to create movies, started to try to control the narratives for what it means to be black in America, which nobody else has seen before. So if we're going to use that in a context of myself as an immigrant in Canada, yourself as an entrepreneur in Nigeria, we're going to say
in Ghana,
in Ghana, sorry, we're going to say from how it speaks to us and forming a community around people who are who have the same lived experiences as. So for instance, it will be for someone like me. We're both immigrants. We're both first generation immigrants. You're an immigrant in Ghana, I'm an immigrant in Canada. Finding that common thing where nobody else will understand. People that lived in Nigeria and have never immigrated, people that have traveled for holiday to any other part of the world, they won't see it the same way we see it. Being immigrants, deciding to pack up your bags and moving to another country where you might or might not be accepted, where people have or haven't done what you're doing, where you don't know how it's going to end, but you just know that, man, I've come here and I'm not going back less than I came. I'm going to do better because what it took to come here was too much of a sacrifice. I cannot go back and give excuses. So, and knowing that, looking around you, and there's nobody else like you, there's nobody else that can associate or relate with you, so soul food is really being able to come together based on those things, those things that are common to our lived experiences that nobody else can relate to. And in terms of music, and using that as a platform for expressing our similarities, expressing our identity as immigrants, as Yoruba, as Igbo, as as different things that we are, different ways we show up in life,
different cultures.
And then pushing, using that as a force of drive for resistance, for political statements, for saying this is who I am now. I used to be this person. We can both attest to the fact that since we both moved to where we are, we both evolved as people, as women, as individuals, as professionals. So I think that's what soul food means to me.
To you. Interesting. I like the holistic way you looked at it, based on culture, based on way of life, and all that. For me, soul food is beautiful. It goes beyond the food. Although I always say I'm a foodie. I love food, and I am on a 21-day fitness regimen. I got some. I've been getting some. People have been noticing that I've been, getting trimmer and stuff. Regardless, soul food for me is is more than just mashed potatoes and chicken, or whatever it is. It is a way of life, and it is a way that gives me comfort. It is me coming home from a long day, coming home, putting on my music, um, putting on my scented candles. Hello, forward, you're welcome. Putting on my music, soul food, some R&B, Aretha Franklin, Erica Badu, Asha in Nigeria, some Neto C or Ike Chuku, or some of our own favorite, like our various favorites. So putting on some nice music, lighting a scented candle, having something lovely to eat, jumping on the phone with a friend, a colleague, and having a nice conversation. Things that fuel you. It could be taking a walk into, to a on that taking a walk to wherever, feeling I'm doing very well, thank you. Feeling refreshed, because sometimes we get exhausted. This brings us to the topic burnout. We get exhausted with life, and I'm noticing, if you do a little research, you find out that a lot of people right now are burnt out. 8 or 9 out of 10 people I've reached out to and spoken to are experiencing burnout. Some are experiencing severe burnout. Some have gotten to the point where it's just maybe like depression. Some have gotten to the point where it's full on like burnout, right? So and that brings us to why is that happening now? Why are so many people disconnected? Why are people feeling like they are doing it alone? Why are people overwhelmed? And why is it happening in silos in different parts of the world? So that is what I want to ask you. And have you ever experienced burnout, and what did you do about it?
I've experienced burnout more than once, but I feel like burnout isn't new. I feel like people have burnt out. In fact, I feel like a generation is learning from past generations in terms of burnouts. People were dropping dead at some point, generations before ours. People would drop dead and they would say is attack, evil spirits. But really, we know that burnout we now know that burnout
is real.
Is responsible, is real, and is responsible for the sudden death in men, in women, and I would, unfortunately,
even in
the
children.
statistics show that it happens to women, even children. Statistics shows that it happens to women. That women are more prone to burnouts more than men, especially in the modern times. In the past few decades, when women have been expected to also match up to the man in terms of providing economically, being economically viable for employment, or when people started regarding success, in a different way. Before, success was for a woman was marry, have good children, make sure your children are successful. If you're able to have a business or work while you're doing it, all the much more wonderful. But if you don't like, having a business or running a career is very secondary. But now women are expected to match up in that regard, and so there was a lot of burnout and people were dropping dead. So yes, I have been burnt out several times. But I think that the burnout concept is something that, because we are conscious of it now, we are speaking about it more. So that's how it looks like where there's a lot of burnout. There's always been burnout. Before the generations before our mothers, the burnout was very minimal because, like I said, there was fewer. Not that there were fewer expectations. The expectations was different, and so people were able to have a more balanced life. So there was no real burnout as such for most people on a more general level. Fewer people had burnout because life expectancy was higher, because even though technology was not as good as it is now, medical system was not as advanced as it is now, diseases were not were more rampant and more difficult to trace before it kills people. But the concept of burnout was reduced then because people could balance. Women were not expected to take care of children, take care of the house, take care of the husband, and still take care of work. Husbands would focus on work. They didn't have to help at home. There were little expectations. Things were not so expensive. The spirit of consumerism wasn't so rampant. Everybody wants to buy this. Everybody wants to have iPhone. Everybody wants to have big house. It was so easy to build your own house and live in it. It was so easy to do anything. Nobody was trying to jackpot that they are looking for millions in their account.
It was so easy to have a garden at the back of your house and plant your greens and vegetables.
And grow your own garden. Things were so like expectations. There was no social media that was putting pressure. Oh, my brother now has this, also me to have that. So those things that's why there was reduced burnout. But then in our mother's time, our own generation, not Gen Z, us millennials, our mother's time, there was now that expectation. It started to grow, it started to increase because women were now going to workforce. Women were getting educated. There was more demand on women to be able to, turn up in different ways that they didn't have to turn up before. In also conjunction with the fact that they also had to raise children and do all those things in Nigerian and African societies. They had to do those things. Even in North America and the West, they had to still do those things in addition to those things, to being the boss lady. So then burnouts increased. Then our own generation, but now in our mother's generation, the burnout they weren't talking about it too much. It was very present because people didn't know about it. But now we're talking about it more, so it looks like it's more rampant, but it's not new, And so I'll conclude by saying that, and joining it with how I cope. I cope the time when I'm getting burnt out is, our world is moving towards a time when people are identifying that certain things are not necessary. For me, like people are no longer driven by, people still want to make money. It's easier to make money now than it was. I mean, in the way that people want to make money, it's easier now than it was. With the advent of AI, and you can have a huge multi-billion-dollar business and it's just one person running that business. It's very possible now. So it's easier to make money now than it was years ago, decades ago. So while people rest less, the fact that they have, they have a little bit more control of their lives. I mean, I'm talking about those that are educated and exposed. So these things is in different cadres of life, and it's not for everybody. There's still burnouts. There's still that unawareness in a certain segments of the society, and it's unfortunate to even reach those people, because mediums like what we're doing, even as much as we're trying to call attention to it and help people in that situation, it's harder to help reach them because they don't have data. They're not going to do
They
this.
don't have digital devices. They're not on Instagram.
They don't have lights. So
Are you secretly yabbing Nigeria? Like, which one is?
I'm not yapping. It's just reality, to be honest. And even talking about North America.
Okay, North America, they don't have lights. Ezioku.
They have lights. So to talk about the things that are issues for people that live below a certain income level, they are working 2-3 jobs. They don't have the luxury of listening to this. They're working 2-3 jobs. Their data and those things are very available. They might listen to this. In reality, they can't really implement it because they're working 2-3 jobs, and those realities are very, very present. I remember the first day I came into Canada. I was very shocked to see beggars with placards, on the road. Yes, I was very shocked. I was like, what's going on?
What are they saying on the placard?
$5 would do something. Just a meal, a simple meal would help. Like things like that. Yeah, they're very poor people in North America as well. Yeah. So the same issues that plague, it's just that it's in different. It shows up differently, but there's poverty everywhere. Lack of access to good education, lack of employment, equal employment for all.
Equal rights and
that to go around.
opportunities.
Yeah, those things are
Adequate
everywhere.
nutrition.
They're not restricted to just Nigeria or Africa.
Please, can I allow you to just go into it for a bit? Let me get my charger. My other phone is about to go off, so that the YouTube doesn't
Okay.
watch. So just please address the. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So so this burnout conversation is also psychological. It's not just physical burnout. There's also mental and emotional burnout, where you feel like you're at the end of yourself. You might have physical rest. You might be able to rest, physically. You might be able to rest physically, but you might not emotional rest, because people around you are taking a lot from you. You don't set boundaries. Recognize yourself. You don't pay attention to your emotional. You're not emotionally intelligent, and that has become an insult to people. But it's really just calling out the need to pay attention to your emotional health and well-being more than most people do. I believe that. Emotional well-being even surpasses physical sometimes, because if you're emotionally okay, you might, because let's face it, there are people, remember that our forefathers farmed. I don't think we can even do the level of physical work that they do. Sorry. So I'm shocked of is that I stand up and start dragging him out.
Please, Timmy, how are you? How are
He
you?
can't hear you. They're fine, thank you. So it's either you ignore him, he's just ignore him.
We are focused on you.
So it's either you. So the level of physical work that they could do and what they could, we I don't think we can even do it because ultimately there's a lot of mental and emotional pressure. Remember those men when they do that work, they come home at maybe 4 p.m. Before the sun, as soon as the sun comes up, they're back at home, sitting down, just chilling, hanging out, solving other problems aside physical work. They are no longer working, doing other things that moves the society forward aside. But now, all we think about moving the society forward is money. And how do we know we have money where we have big house, big car, designer clothes, iPhone 20, and those things are, yes. So mental and psychological and emotional well-being is really much more important. It should be prioritized, but that's the last thing that we do in our time. And so
You made
that we need
point.
to build.
Yes. So I think I'm taking a lead from what you said. When these days now, emotional intelligence is in fact it's part of, if they're about to hire you, part of the things they want to test is your emotional intelligence IQ.
This is collaboration.
Yeah, to see if you're capable of being compassionate. There's some certain things that there some certain things you don't do and you don't say, whether in public or privately. There are certain insensitive comments that you don't make, right? For instance, I believe children are very oblivious to, a lot of children are oblivious to emotional intelligence because they're still green, they are still fresh. They've not been, they've not been. In fact, children will tell you the truth. If your hair is ugly, they will tell you.
And they don't care how it makes you feel.
Their emotional intelligence is -0. I remember when I think I was like 8 or 7. So we had someone that she did her hair, she combed it all the way in the front, just trying to do the punk, and then the back looked so bad. And then she asked me, like, Ndali, this looks nice. How does it look? I said, it's bad. It's not good. She said, it's nice because the front looked good, but the back was. I said, no, don't do it. Don't wear it. It's bad. And that was it. She kept trying to, and I'd spoken, and I kept quiet at that point. So children have they have like 0 emotional intelligence. So those are things, even as parents, you get to teach, children. I remember when I was young, I used to say the damnedest things. Oh my God. I remember when I went to write post UMA. So I want us to make this relational, share our personal stories and stuff so that you are not just speaking from textbook knowledge, like we make it relatable and real. So when I went for my post UMA at Unizik then, so because I've been quiet for a while, I was just waiting for them to call us. And then I see these 2 ladies. I think I already have told you the story. I see these 2 ladies sitting side by side and they looked alike, right? So I assumed, but one was bigger and one was slimmer. So I assumed that the bigger one was the mom and the other one was the sister. And then I was like,
I'm afraid of where this is heading.
all right, I was like, I was young, I was a teenager. Come on. I was like, oh my gosh, you and your mom look like sisters. And then one of them looked at me and said, we are sisters. I didn't speak again until I didn't speak again until I got into the hall and wrote my exam and went home. So,
you're lucky that they actually answered you.
no, it's the innocence. Like I was like, "Oh my gosh, you and your mom look like sisters." She
And
said,
they probably thought you were paying them a compliment.
"I thought it was a compliment because people say me and my mom look like sisters. I thought it was like a compliment, right?" And then one of them looked at me and was like, "We are actually sisters."
It's my sister.
Oh, is it getting hot in here?
No, it's not even your. I don't know if that's you one slap.
That time,
You'd have gotten very
if you
hot.
slap me, I slap you back. Good. Violence head HQ. But this is the wellness and positivity lane, no judgment zone. Those are things that happened many years
I'm
ago.
judging you, please. I'm judging you.
All right,
Everything
judging me.
you do not know that you cannot be saying such things indiscriminately. Do you know them before? Did they ask you for your
I do not
advice
know
or your
them all.
opinion?
I do not know
You
them.
don't know them. Did they ask you for your advice or your opinion that you just
I
went
do
and
not know
said,
them. I was
giving them compliments?
a teenager.
In Onitsha, now, if you were like Lagos, Chris, people, they would just dash you something that will remain for a
No,
while.
yeah, Lagos. Lagos. When I was. You're forgetting. I was forgetting. I was born in Lagos. We have our own way of following our Lagos comrades. You know, so it wasn't even in
Okay,
Onitsha.
good for you.
It was in Oka.
Enugu.
No, it was in
Oh,
Oka.
okay. Okay, but CTM, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to hear me. So it was in Oka. You know, so
Okay.
come to think about it, different towns have, like, if you come into a new town, like you're in Canada, for instance, I'm in Accra, right? Enugu has its own level of energy, you know, the way people
It's
mingle.
like,
Every community has the way they relate, has the way they adapt to information and communication. So speaking of, you know, so I was just new in the place and then I, you know, decided to just run my mouth and then I made people go and maybe take up a weight loss plan or something, but not going into that. So now, when you come into a new town, because you mentioned immigrants, how do you, you know, because sometimes it's like immigrants as if they're on the outside looking in. So I'm going to ask you, how were you able to find your network, to build your connectivity or connections, friends, you know, to make a life for yourself outside your family where you are? I'm going to ask you that in regards to relationships, outings, soul food, music, things that just make your heart beat a little faster and make you happy when you think about them.
okay, so we're being relatable, right? I'm going to tell you, when I first came to Canada, I didn't, normally, I'm not a very outgoing person. I'm like a very serious introvert. I learned to be an extrovert when I need to be. Like now, if I tell people I'm an introvert, they're like, you know, but I'm just. And there's a word for it. I don't remember right now, but there's a word for people that switch between introvert and extrovert. That's me.
Is it ambivert?
Maybe, but I don't know about it.
If you know the word of the name, if you know your Instagram or YouTube and you know the name, drop it in the comments so we can read it. If you're a psychologist, if you know all these things, so someone that switches between introvert and extrovert, like it's a combination of a bit of both. If you know it, drop it in the comment section and then we are going to read it even during the live or after the live. So please go ahead.
Yes, please. So I knew that I'm in a new place. I don't have the usual support system I would usually have. So because I'm an introvert, I have most of my friends are people I've known for a very long time, either since university or like at least since secondary school or primary school. People I've known since. So because this is how to build that kind of bond with people. So when I came to Canada, I didn't have any of that support system around me. So I knew that I had to go out of my way to try to, make friends. So I started trying to, make friends here and there with Nigerians because I had more in common with them. See, this, I don't want to be racist, but people, they will tell you their whole life, but there are cultural cues you don't understand that could keep you
on the outside.
On the outside, and you will know you are on the outside, but the time you will know, it might be in a very painful way. And so with long story. And so one of the things that so I found out that these people, they can tell you, they can be working with you, and then they'll tell you all these things about their personal life, things that in Nigeria you only tell your very close friend. They'll tell you all these things. And then maybe if you go outside, you'll say, bye, see you tomorrow, have a happy weekend. Don't even talk to you. They'll just, like, so you just finished telling me your deepest secrets, and I'm saying hi, bye. They won't even answer. You are thinking I've made a close friend. They won't even
You're on your own.
say hi to you. You're your own.